So everyone is talking about the UN Human Rights Report that came to a conclusion about details around what happened on October 7th. The thing that's getting the most attention, rightfully so, is that the allegations of supposed systemic sexual abuse by Palestinian resistance against Israelis were fake. That's a nice little told you so moment. The report concluded that no orders were given from Hamas to commit sexual violence, that Israel lied about sexual violence, that systemic sexual and gender-based violence is actually a part of the Israeli military standard operating procedures, that sexual violence against Palestinians is inextricably linked to the occupation, that the occupation systemically targets, subjects Palestinians to sexualized torture and abuse, forced public stripping, sexual humiliation, and rape. Remember that a new report just came out on June 6th that was actually published in the New York Times about how Israel has literally sodomized Palestinian men to death in these makeshift detention centers. And then the report also summarized that the events of October 7th must be seen in context preceded by decades of violence, unlawful occupation, Israel's denial of Palestinians' right to self-determination, all the things we've been educating people on for the last 9 months, which is amazing. I think that this report validated the things that Palestinians have been saying, not just for the last 9 months, but the last 76 years. The one thing about that report that isn't getting as much attention as it should is this. The UN report also came to the conclusion that Israel killed its own citizens on October 7th using something called the Hannibal Directive. What is the Hannibal Directive? Here, let me show you. The Hannibal Directive, when active, indicates that the Israeli army should use any and all means to prevent the capture of Israeli soldiers, even if it involves killing them. And while this was supposedly revoked in 2016, there is reason to believe that during Hamas's attack, it was reactivated in some capacity. And by some capacity, we mean it was reactivated to be used on Israeli civilians, not just soldiers. By the way, I'm reading from this article on Middle East Eye that goes into detail saying that the UN found that at least 14 Israeli civilians were intentionally killed by the Israeli army on October 7th. The article goes on to say that it was confirmed that the Hannibal Directive was used to shoot at a Palestinian car that was believed to be carrying an Israeli captive. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, it says that there's also verified information indicating that in at least 2 other cases, security forces on the Israeli side had likely applied the Hannibal Directive, resulting in the killing of up to 14 Israeli civilians. One of the confirmed reports was that an Israeli woman was killed by Israeli Apache helicopter fire in one of the kibbutz, which we told everyone about in October, and then again in April. That's me. When reports came out that this was confirmed, but again, nobody listened to us. And another case that the commission found was that Israeli tank fire had killed some or all of the 13 civilian captives held in a house in a kibbutz called Be'eri. And as more and more of these investigations are starting to come out 9 months later, I am just wondering when this world will listen to Palestinians, because it's been nearly 80 years of the same occupier and we know who we're dealing with. And a reminder that the US and Israel don't care about the hostages. You are being played, and this is all colonial.